If I am a public representative, I am a public servant, I am a judge, I have more honest liability to be transparent. 5 years until I contested the election and got elected as legislator of this unity. So far as Right to Information Act is concerned, it is a watershed legislation in the country. There are two most important legislation of erstwhile state of Jammu and Kashmir. One was Right to Information Act 2009, because in our duty it was legislated in 2009. It was more or less a copy of the Central Right to Information Act. Then another important legislation which was passed by our legislature was Public Guarantee Act. Public Services Guarantee Act. I had an occasion to go through that act once in my life. That was indeed a watershed legislation. Had it been implemented the way it was legislated and the intention with which it was legislated, and had the Right to Information Act implemented on ground the way and with the intention it was legislated, I can say with certainty that half of the corruption would have eradicated. But unfortunately, both these acts were not implemented on ground for various reasons. And Right to Information Act, at times, I'm not saying that 100%, but at times, more often than not, has been misused also. And it lost its relevance, the real purpose. The purpose was, if you go through Section 8 of the Right to Information Act, it gives huge power to the citizens. And nobody can deprive a citizen of any information. The next section says, notwithstanding Official Secret Act 1932. Even if it is prohibited under Official Secret Act, you cannot deny the information. So these powers to an ordinary citizen is a tribute to the legislation. That any citizen, irrespective of the fact, notwithstanding the fact that he has any interest or not in the information he is seeking, मुझे ये नहीं बताना पड़ेगा कि मेरा इसमें इंटरेस्ट क्या है, मुझे कोई रीजन नहीं देना है, आपको कोई रीजन नहीं देना है कि मेरा क्या इंटरेस्ट है इसमें. So that is a greatest tribute to the right of the citizen. And you know, these rights to know flows from the constitutional right under Article 19. This act is basically an extension of right to freedom of speech and expression. Because every right, constitutional right, has a reverse connotation. If I have a right to speak, I have a right to silence. Right to silence is nowhere defined in the Constitution. But right to speak has a reverse connotation also. Similarly, if I have a right to maintain the privacy, the reverse connotation is somebody has a right to know also. And that too when I'm holding a public office. If I am a public representative, I am a public servant, I am a judge, I have more honest liability to be transparent, to be neat and clean. It is said that Czar's wife has to be above board. So this Right to Information Act, despite being a watershed legislation, could not achieve its result. I'm sorry to say, people like you are fighting against corruption for more than half a century. Through various organizations, sometimes one moment or the other, and the Hazare movement started to eradicate the corruption. It began with a fanfare and ended in a fiasco. Nobody knows where that movement has gone. But still there are certain people in this country who are silently fighting this battle. And unless you fight it like a soldier, like a firefighter, you cannot achieve it. And we have to fight it unmindful of the result. Because I know, because I am in the system for last more than 3 decades now. I served as a judge for 17 years. Then I joined public life. I joined advocacy in the Supreme Court. If you will excuse me for this blunt statement, we are still neck deep in the corruption. In every system. And I have been fighting it silently or openly, sometimes silently.